If you're at this point in your life where you just feel like there has to be something more, this is the episode for you. Deep down, your soul knows that you're here and you're meant to do more. And you haven't tapped into your fullest potential yet. You haven't tapped into your soul's purpose. And that's why you're here. And you're here for a reason. Welcome to the Self-Love Model. On this podcast, we have open-hearted and honest conversations about all things self-love and the journey of self-discovery. This podcast is for those on an everlasting journey of their own evolution, and most importantly, a safe space for us to heal together. I'm your host, Sid, and welcome to your self-love session. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to the Self-Love Model. If you're new here, my name is Cindy, or you can call me Sid. On this podcast, we talk about all things self-love, mindset, healing, and spirituality. So if you're into any of those topics, you are here at the right place. And I have a feeling we're about to become really good friends because on this podcast, I get really vulnerable and open with you guys. I share my own personal stories to be able to just relate and to give examples of where I've come from and things I've learned along the way. So, welcome, guys. I hope that today's been a good day for you. So, for today's episode, I want to start us off by sharing a little something that I wrote for this episode. Okay, are you guys ready? Okay. Life becomes truly beautiful when you allow yourself to be everything you've ever wanted to be. It becomes freeing when you step outside the box they try to place you in. It becomes limitless when you release the weight of societal expectations of who you should be, where you should be, and by what age. Life is exhilarating when you give yourself permission to play every version of yourself unapologetically. In a world that constantly tries to define you, to mold you into something smaller than you are, the most powerful thing you can do is break free. Break free and become everything your soul has ever longed for. There's no set timeline. The deadlines and milestones society imposes are nothing more than illusions, constructs designed to keep people moving in the same direction. But the truth? The only timeline that matters is yours. Take your time. Take your time discovering who you are. Take your time rediscovering yourself over and over again. You are allowed to evolve. To be human is to embrace chaos and imperfection. If we were perfect, we'd be machines, lifeless, predictable, all the same. And what a dull existence that would be. To be human is to experience. To feel every high, every low, and everything in between. To live fully means knowing both the pain of grief and the beauty of love, because one makes the other all the more sacred. It means touching rock bottom and realizing you can rise again. It means standing at the top of the world, knowing nothing can bring you down. And most importantly, it means learning to find joy in the mundane, to cultivate an unshakable inner peace, and to trust that you are here for a reason. Because without you, this world would not be the same. To step into a life that feels free, one that truly aligns with your soul, you must first let go of the old narrative. The one that whispers, you're not good enough. The one that asks, what would they think? The voice that questions, do you really think you can do that? The one that sneers, who do you think you are? And the one that warns, let's be realistic here. These are not your truths. They are echoes of the limitations you've been taught to believe, but you don't have to believe them anymore. And my friends, that is a little something that I wrote and that I wanted to share with you guys. As I was preparing for this episode, these are the words that just flowed out of me. And that's when I knew that this is something that I really do want to talk about. And because I feel like this is something that I really deeply embody in my life. because of all the roles that I play. I am a bartender one day, I am a podcaster, I am a photographer, a model. I am anything that I want to be. And I think that is so beautiful. I think something that's really beautiful about me embodying so many different roles in my life is that I get to connect with so many different people, and each role that I'm in, it allows me to show up in a different way, and I learn so much about myself through each role that I play. When I bartend, it teaches me a lot of stuff, like the environment that I'm in there. It teaches me something entirely different than what podcasting teaches me. As a bartender, I am interacting with so many different people. On top of that, it teaches me to let go and to embrace my natural hotness. As silly as that sounds, but like to just embrace my beauty and my youth and my hotness because that allows me to make money and to almost like let go and have fun. And then as a podcaster, it teaches me how to use my voice and how to speak my truth and how to deliver a message to an audience to where they can understand me and how to understand the intention behind everything that I talk about and how I can show up in my life every day to be the best version of myself so that way I can bring these messages into my podcast and to know what I stand for. And as a photographer, there's so many techniques and skills. Again, I'm working with people. And as a model, it's teaching me how to be confident and how to work with my body and how to be in tune with myself, my facial expressions, and just how I show up in general. And even with fitness, sometimes I'm a little fitness influencers and I'll post my workout videos. Those are all just different aspects of my life. And I think that's it's just so beautiful that I allow myself to show up in so many different forms, so many different avatars. And I've had times where I've questioned myself where I can feel like, am I doing too much? You know what I'm saying? Like, should I just really try and narrow down on one thing and stick to that and like instead of because I I've gone through moments and phases where I'm like, okay, I feel like I do all these things, but I'm not mastering any of them, right? And I was like, I feel like I should really try and figure out like, but it was so hard for me to try and contain myself into this box or into one thing because that's not me. And I've learned to truly embrace that, and I feel like each thing that we do, we are meant to do for a reason, and that thing is meant to show us and teach us something which leads us down further and further down our path and closer to our truth, to our purpose. For example, I started off in my career as a server, full-time server, and I'm so grateful that I did that because I think that when you're trying to figure out what you wanna do in life, the best job that you can get is in serving or as a bartender, but a lot of times it's harder to just, like if you've never bartended before, to just jump into bartending. A lot of places will want to have experience. So I'm really grateful that I started off serving and I learned all of that, um, and learned a lot about hospitality, and then as a server, I was able to work up and become a bartender, and as a bartender, you're also just talking to a lot of different people. You're learning how to hold a conversation, how to start a conversation, and just getting out of my shell. When I first started serving and bartending, I was so shy. I remember being a server back in the day and watching the bartenders just talk to their bar guests and just thinking, wow, I love that they can just talk to that guest and just talk about anything. Whereas I was like, "I don't know if I can do that, like, I'm so shy." But obviously, I've come such a far away from that to now I can really strike up a conversation with anyone. Like, I can show up to a party by myself and be just fine. So, I started my career with serving, moved up to bartending, and then, after that, that's when I discovered that's when I started to pursue photography, right? And when I started photography and when I decided that I wanted to go all in with my photography business and I wanted to make it my thing, I was like, okay, like this is it. I know this is what I'm meant to do. And I like really went full send and put all my energy into that, in which I am still doing my photography business, but it has evolved. And through photography, this last year I started my podcast. And with starting my podcast, I'm now feeling like, oh, I feel like this is what I'm meant to do. I feel like having a podcast is what I'm meant to do. And I feel like, yes, photography is still like a core passion of mine, like photography and podcasting. I feel like those two right now for me just go hand in hand. And something that I've started to do is so I do my podcast episodes bi-weekly. And with it being bi-weekly, I basically have structured it to where one week I pretty much focus on photography, my photography business, and then the next week I spend all that week doing my podcast. So I've been kind of going back and forth, which has been working. And during my photography week, I still will like weave in a little bit of podcast stuff here and there, just because I can't help myself. My brain, I get very obsessive about things that I'm passionate about. So I'll like start just thinking about my podcast stuff. And if I get ideas, I gotta work on it. Otherwise, my brain just like does not let it go. But yeah, so I started photography. It led me to actually, before podcast, it led me to modeling. And in between, there's also the whole fitness journey that I skipped too. But yeah, it's just every single thing has led me down this path. And I just feel like I can now like I can zoom out and look back at my path so far and see why things happened the way it did and why I started getting into photography and all of that. Because now I've gained these skills as a photographer. I can take my own pictures. I can record myself with my camera equipment. I can have these high quality pictures, videos to market myself. And that's because I had a photography business that I started with, and it's helped giving me all these skills that I can now incorporate and continue to build on. So I just feel like each path that I've gone on are all meant to be. And I just feel like for me, my biggest thing is I want to follow joy. Like, joy is my compass. Whatever brings me joy and whatever sparks me and makes me feel alive, I'm going to follow that. And for me, that's what I've done with photography and now podcasting. And I know that as long as I keep doing that and keep following what brings me joy, that it'll lead me down to my true purpose. And I just feel like that is what life is all about. So, in order to create a life that you love and to be able to step into this version of you that isn't afraid to play all these avatars, that isn't afraid to be whoever you want it to be, in order to do that, you have to figure out your limiting beliefs because your limiting beliefs are holding you back. So, one of the most important things you can do for yourself is figuring out what your limiting beliefs are. And once you have figured that out, ask yourself, how did those beliefs come about? And how does it serve me? And once you've asked yourself those questions, now ask yourself, what new beliefs can I create that serves me now and serves the version of me that I want to be? So, let me give you an example. When I was first starting this work and when I was looking into my own limiting beliefs, one of my biggest one is I am not good enough. That has always been a core belief and a limiting belief of mine, is that I am not good enough. So I had to work on reframing that thought. And anytime that thought came up, I reframed it and I changed it to a new thought that served me now. And my new thought is that I am more than enough. Me being myself is more than enough. So that was a belief that I had to really look at and understand why that belief came about and to work on reframing that. So, according to Google, limiting beliefs are harmful thought patterns that stop you from trying new things or taking risks. They can be about yourself, other people, or the world. And here are some more examples of limiting beliefs. I can't be myself or I'll be judged. I can't ask for what I want because I might get rejected. I can't trust people because they might betray my trust. I'm not good enough, which was one that I deeply resonated with. I'm worthless. I'm unlovable. I'm not ready yet. I don't have enough time for this. These are the most common limiting beliefs I would say that a lot of us have and don't realize. And how limiting beliefs are developed are they can be developed based on experiences, upbringing, and societal norms. So that's why the most important thing that you can do for yourself in order to step into this version of you and to build this life that you love and that you're excited to wake up to every day is by overcoming those limiting beliefs. So, first, identify your limiting beliefs and recognize that they are just beliefs, and then challenge those beliefs and adopt a new belief that serves who you are now and who you want to be. And the next thing that I want us to work on is listening to our inner dialogue. How are you talking to yourself? Listen to the thoughts that you're saying to yourself because our words are so powerful and the way that we talk to ourselves matters and everything we're saying it's like it's like a kid when you're raising a kid everything you're saying they're absorbing and even if they don't realize it subconsciously they're taking in everything that you're saying and that's the same thing with the words that we're saying to ourselves. The way we talk to ourselves matters. And this is something that I've worked on a lot with myself too, because I've struggled with my body image. Body dysmorphia is something that I've had to work through, and it does still show up in my life time to time. And each time that it does, I catch those negative thoughts. And that's why it's important to have that awareness of what those negative thoughts are. And when it pops up, just being aware of it and realizing what's happening can help you work through it so much better. Instead of in the past when I wasn't aware, I would just go down this rabbit hole and really just feel like shit about myself, right? But your negative self talk is holding you back. Stop telling yourself you're not good enough or that you're not ready to do the one thing you've always wanted to do. What is that one thing that you've always wanted to do? And whatever that thing is that just pops up into your head, take this as a sign to do it, to freaking just go for it. This is the year that you're gonna make shit happen. It's time to let go of that old narrative, sis, and it's time to write your love story. It's time to write the story of how you felt so deeply with yourself and created this life that you love. So, if you're someone who struggles with having a negative self talk, a thing that really helped me when I first began working on my self talk is affirmations. And I know affirmations is not for everyone. Some people might think it's cheesy, but personally, it's something that really, really helped me a lot when I first began my journey. Some of the ways that I incorporated affirmations into my life was by watching YouTube videos. If you go on YouTube, there's so many. There's a plethora of affirmation videos that you can find that can fit whatever needs you have. So, for example, if you're working on truly loving yourself, there's a self love affirmation that you can look up. And if you're working on your confidence, there's a confidence affirmation that you can work on, that you can find. Or if you're just working on, if you want to be like an entrepreneur, um, there's also an entrepreneur affirmation. There's so many different kinds of affirmations, and I love listening to them all. I love experimenting, finding different ones to listen to. Something that I do currently, well, actually, before I share what I do currently, let's go back to what I used to do when I first started. And what was really helpful for me was I would, when I went to bed, I would put out an affirmation tape. So they have ones that you can fall asleep to. Those ones I really, really loved. Because when we're sleeping, our brain never shuts off unless you're dead. But if you're alive, your brain is always on, even when you're sleeping. When we're sleeping, our brain is basically processing all the information that we consumed throughout the day. It's processing everything. And as you're sleeping, whatever you're listening to, so if you have an affirmation tape, those words are getting soaked into your brain. There's our subconscious brain. I've talked about this in past episodes before. I believe, I don't know, I am saying this off the top of my head. I believe that our subconscious mind makes up 80% of our mind, which is a huge number. It makes up a huge part of our brain. And when we're sleeping and you're listening to the affirmation tape, the affirmations are getting soaked into your subconscious mind. And if you get it into a habit every night, you're basically brainwashing yourself in a good way. So every night I will listen to these affirmation tape, and I actually I swear guys, they really helped me, and I could see how those information or those words were translating into my life and how I show up and like messages through people. I was like, wait a second. I was like, I heard that exact phrase in my affirmation tape. So that was one thing that I did a lot. I don't listen to affirmation tapes when I'm sleeping anymore because I sleep with Chris and he doesn't like the words. It freaks him out. He likes just we listen to like sleep frequencies to help us sleep. So that's what we do right now. But yeah, so those sleeping affirmations were a huge part of my healing journey. And now what I do is in the morning I will so my current morning routine, I will wake up, make Chris breakfast, and then I will meditate or journal or do breath work. Usually I'll either try and do all those things in the morning or two of the things. And then after that, I'll make myself breakfast. And as I'm making breakfast, that's when I usually like to have my affirmations playing. So I'll look up like a morning affirmation or something because a lot of them have like really upbeat, like fun music with it to where when I'm cooking, then I'm like just vibing and listening to it. I either like listen to it and repeat it as well, or I'll just, cook. But I love starting my mornings off that way. It's just, gets me in the high vibe and keeps me there. So now we've talked about figuring out what your limiting beliefs are and creating new beliefs that will serve you now and the future self. And we've talked about figuring out your negative self talk and how to rewire those negative self talk. Now, another thing that is holding you back from living your dream life is caring what other people think. All right, my loves, it is 2025. We are no longer caring about what people think about us. That is so in the 2000s. And we're not doing that anymore, okay? Okay, when you're on your deathbed, you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done that one thing. And the only reason why I didn't do it was because I cared what Becky thought. Like, no, we don't want that. So that's why we're going to let go of caring what other people think. Because if they're going to hate on you, that's only because they're jealous or because they wish they could be doing what you're doing. All right, we've talked about all these things that we can do to begin living this beautiful life, to step into that version of us. Now, the most important thing before I end this episode is that you have to start believing in yourself. Everything begins with you. And if you believe you can do something, you can do that thing. But if you believe you can't, then you can't. Everything is simply within our mind. You just have to believe. And I want this year to be the year that you started believing in yourself, because this is a year that I am believing in myself. I am 100%, 110% wholeheartedly believing in myself. For me, this year is all about discipline, and it's all about doing everything that I said I'm going to do and making it happen. This is a year that people are going to be like, holy shit, she did that. So here's to no more second guessing, and it's time to give yourself everything that you deserve. This is a year that you're going to give yourself the permission to become whatever avatar and whatever character you want to be. Do you want to be a podcaster, a photographer, a dancer, a whatever, a firefighter, whatever it is, the world is your oyster. You are so limitless. You are beyond more powerful than you can ever imagine. You just have to give yourself the permission to tap into that and to go down this path. And I hope this episode has really inspired you guys to really, like, I want this episode to just really hype you guys up and to give you that push that you needed to really go after the thing that you've always wanted for yourself. Because that is my energy going into this year. And before I leave you guys, I have some journaling prompts and affirmations for you guys to take away today. Okay, so you might want to grab out a pen and paper or just grab out your phone and open your notes app. And I want you guys to write down these journaling prompts. And this can be something that you do before bed or right now or in the morning. And here's prompt number 1. What limiting beliefs have been holding me back? Where do they come from and how can I reframe them into empowering beliefs? Prompt number 2 is, if I fully believed in myself, what is one thing I would start doing today? Prompt number 3, what would my highest self tell me right now? What is the most loving, encouraging thing I can say to myself? And prompt number 4, if I had no fear of judgment or failure, who would I become? What dreams would I chase? And those are the 4 journaling prompts that I have for you guys today. And then here are some affirmations for you guys to take away as well. I release all limiting beliefs and step into my limitless potential. I am worthy of everything I desire, and I choose to believe in myself fully. Every challenge I face is leading me to growth, clarity, and success. Rejection is simply redirection towards something even better. I am powerful, I am capable, and I'm creating a life beyond my wildest dreams. All right, so now those are some journaling prompts and affirmations for you guys today. And if you guys are feeling inspired, I would love for you guys to share your reflections or your favorite affirmation from this episode. Post on Instagram and tag the self love model so I can see and celebrate your growth with you. And let's start a conversation about breaking free and stepping into our highest selves together. Yay! All right, guys, that is it for today's episode. Remember, if you enjoy this episode, if you've stuck with me all the way to the end, make sure that you are subscribed wherever you are listening to this episode and leave me a review if you haven't yet. And better yet, if you leave me a review, take a screenshot and send it to me. I will freaking love you forever. And I swear to you, I'll probably cry. And on that note, I want you guys to repeat after me. I believe in myself. I am enough, I am powerful, and I am unstoppable. This is a year that I am making my dreams come true. I will talk to you guys on the next episode of the Self Love Model. Love you all. Bye.